Some people don't chase your attention. They make you chase theirs. Not through obvious manipulation, but through uncertainty. Psychologists have long observed that unpredictable rewards can keep people engaged more strongly than consistent ones. When attention becomes inconsistent, it can feel unusually compelling. In relationships, this pattern isn't always intentional. But when it is used deliberately to keep someone invested, it can become manipulative. Here are 5 signs someone may be creating artificial scarcity around their attention. Asterisk 1. They disappear after positive interactions. You have a great conversation, you laugh together, you feel closer than ever. And then, silence. No messages, no explanation. The timing matters. Instead of building on the connection, they disappear immediately after creating emotional momentum. The absence leaves your brain searching for answers. Did you say something wrong? Did they lose interest? Instead of enjoying the interaction, you begin analyzing it. The mystery becomes more memorable than the conversation itself. Asterisk 2. They reply unpredictably on purpose. One day they respond in seconds, the next day they take 3 days, then they're suddenly enthusiastic again. Everyone gets busy sometimes. Life happens. But when the unpredictability feels intentional, especially if it appears to increase once they know you're invested, it can keep you wondering where you stand. You start checking your phone more often, rereading conversations, waiting for the next reply. Not because the relationship is growing, but because the uncertainty keeps your attention locked in. Asterisk 3. They make access to them feel earned. Spending time with them starts to feel like winning a prize. You begin adjusting your schedule, changing your plans, trying a little harder just to receive the same amount of attention you once got freely. Without realizing it, you're no longer enjoying the relationship, you're auditioning for it. Healthy relationships don't make affection feel like a reward that must constantly be earned. They make it feel safe. Asterisk 4. They suddenly withhold praise or affection. In the beginning, they're warm, encouraging, interested. Then, without explanation, the compliments stop, the affection fades. Nothing dramatic has happened, but something has changed. Many people respond by trying even harder, working harder to impress, to earn back what once came naturally. The focus shifts from being yourself to recovering their approval. Asterisk 5. They alternate warmth and distance. This is the most powerful pattern of all. One week they're affectionate, the next they're emotionally unavailable. Then they're back again as if nothing happened. That emotional swing creates uncertainty, and uncertainty often increases emotional focus. You stop asking whether the relationship is healthy. You start asking when the next good moment will arrive. Your attention becomes centered on the next emotional reward, instead of the overall pattern. That's why this dynamic can feel so difficult to leave. Not because the connection is consistently fulfilling, but because it occasionally is. Here's the important distinction. Not everyone who replies late or needs space is manipulating you. People have demanding jobs, families, stress, different communication styles. A single behavior rarely tells the whole story. What matters is the pattern. Does inconsistency happen naturally? Or does it consistently leave you feeling like you have to work harder for the same amount of attention? Healthy relationships create security. You don't have to guess where you stand. You don't feel like affection is constantly being won or lost. Manipulative relationships often create emotional scarcity. The less attention you receive, the more valuable it begins to feel. And that's the trap. The healthiest connections don't keep you addicted through uncertainty. They keep you close through consistency. Because real interest doesn't make you chase. It makes you feel secure enough that you don't have to. If someone keeps you guessing, they're keeping your attention. In part 1, we looked at 5 ways people create artificial scarcity around their attention. Now let's explore 5 more subtle signs. Because emotional manipulation doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like mystery. Sometimes it looks like excitement. And sometimes it looks like a relationship that always feels just out of reach. Asterisk 6. They become available the moment you start pulling away. Notice the timing. When you're investing heavily, they seem distant. But the moment you stop texting, stop chasing, or begin focusing on your own life, they suddenly return. Now they're attentive, playful, interested again. This isn't always manipulation. But if the pattern repeats over and over, it may be less about missing you, and more about making sure they don't lose your attention. The relationship feels like a rubber band. Every time you let go, they pull you back. Asterisk 7. They keep promising more attention later. Things will calm down soon. I'll make it up to you. Next week will be different. Sometimes those promises are genuine. Life gets busy. But when later never arrives, hope becomes another form of control. You stay invested, not because of what's happening today, but because of what you've been promised tomorrow. The future keeps replacing the present. Asterisk 8. They make you compete for their attention. Asterisk. Pay attention to how often they mention other people, other friends, other admirers, other options. Sometimes it's natural conversation, but sometimes it's carefully placed. The message isn't spoken directly, it's implied. My attention is limited. You should feel lucky to have it. Without realizing it, you begin trying harder. Not because you enjoy the relationship, but because you're afraid of losing your place. Healthy relationships don't make affection feel like a competition. Asterisk 9. They never give complete certainty. No matter how long you've known them, you still don't know where you stand. One conversation feels deeply personal. The next feels strangely distant. Plans remain vague. Commitments stay undefined. Questions are answered with more questions. That uncertainty isn't just confusing, it keeps you emotionally invested. Because the human mind hates unfinished stories. We naturally seek closure, and some people use that instinct to keep others emotionally attached. Asterisk 10. They reward persistence instead of honesty. Think about what gets their attention. Do they respond when you're calm and direct, or only after you've sent multiple messages, proven your loyalty, or shown how much you care? If attention only comes after effort, your brain starts connecting persistence with reward. Soon you're working harder for something that should have been freely given in the first place. That's how emotional chasing becomes a habit. Here's the bigger picture. Artificial scarcity isn't really about attention. It's about value. When something becomes difficult to access, our minds often assume it must be more valuable. Luxury brands understand this. Collectors understand this. Manipulative people sometimes understand it too. They don't necessarily become more interesting. They simply become less available. And your brain fills the silence with importance. You start thinking about them more, wondering more, waiting more. Not because they're giving you more, but because they're giving you less. That's the paradox. The less consistency you receive, the more emotional energy you spend trying to understand it. Healthy relationships don't require constant decoding. You shouldn't have to analyze every message, every delay, every sudden burst of affection. Consistency may not feel as exciting as uncertainty, but consistency creates trust, and trust creates peace. If someone genuinely values you, they won't need to keep you guessing to keep you interested. Because real connection isn't built on emotional scarcity. It's built on reliability. The people worth keeping in your life won't make you wonder whether you're important. They'll show you, again and again, without making you earn the privilege of being treated with basic respect. If you've watched part 1 and part 2, you may have noticed something. None of these behaviors seem dramatic on their own. A late reply, a cancelled plan, someone needing space. Taken individually, none of these prove manipulation. That's because manipulation is rarely defined by one action. It's defined by a pattern. And the pattern behind artificial scarcity is surprisingly simple. The more uncertain you become, the more emotionally invested you often feel. Let's bring everything together with 5 final signs that complete the picture. Asterisk 11. They never fully commit, but never fully let go. Whenever you start asking where the relationship is going, the answer is just enough to keep you hopeful. Not a clear commitment, not a clear rejection, just enough uncertainty to keep you waiting. You're always close to getting what you want, but never quite there. Asterisk 12. They make you feel replaceable while expecting to remain irreplaceable. They casually mention how busy they are, how many people want their attention, how easily they could move on. Yet the moment you become less available, they expect immediate reassurance. The rules only seem to apply in one direction. Asterisk 13. They keep changing the standard. At first, they appreciate your effort. Then that effort becomes expected. Soon it isn't enough. You find yourself giving more time, more energy, more emotional investment. Yet the relationship never feels more secure. The finish line keeps moving. Asterisk 14. You spend more time wondering than enjoying. This is perhaps the biggest warning sign. Think about your emotional energy. Are you enjoying the connection or constantly analyzing it? Checking your phone, replaying conversations, looking for hidden meanings, trying to predict their next move. Healthy relationships occupy your life. Manipulative ones occupy your mind. There's a difference. 15. They become the center of your emotional world. Without realizing it, your mood begins depending on their attention. A message makes your day. Silence ruins it. Their approval feels like relief. Their distance feels like anxiety. At that point, the relationship is no longer built on mutual connection. It's built on emotional dependence. And that's exactly what artificial scarcity creates. Here's the truth that many people discover too late. The strongest relationships are often the least confusing. They don't rely on mystery. They don't rely on emotional highs followed by emotional crashes. They don't make affection feel like something you have to earn over and over again. Hollywood often teaches us that love should feel unpredictable, that intensity equals passion, that chasing someone proves they're valuable. Real life usually teaches the opposite. The healthiest relationships feel calm, predictable, safe. Not because they're boring, but because trust removes the need for constant guessing. When someone genuinely values you, consistency doesn't reduce attraction, it strengthens it. You don't have to decode mixed signals. You don't have to wonder whether today they'll be warm or cold. You don't have to compete for basic attention. And perhaps the most important lesson is this. The person creating scarcity isn't always the prize. Sometimes the prize is your own attention, your time, your peace of mind, your emotional energy. The more you spend chasing someone else's attention, the less attention you give yourself. So the next time you find yourself constantly wondering where you stand with someone, stop asking whether they're interested. Ask a different question. How do I consistently feel after interacting with them? Do I feel secure or uncertain? Do I feel respected or constantly evaluated? Do I feel free? Or like I'm always trying to earn another moment of their attention? Because genuine connection doesn't leave you emotionally starving. It leaves you emotionally safe. And that's the simplest way to recognize the difference between real interest and artificial scarcity. One asks you to keep chasing. The other never makes you feel like you have to.